Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Curot Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2013 animated comedy action film titled Despicable Me 2. Now, Despicable Me 2 runs for 1 hour and 38 minutes long. It is directed by Pierre Coffin and Renaud. It is produced by Chris Melandri and Janet Healy. The script was written by Cinco Paul and Ken Dorio. The score was done by Hector Pereira and Pharrell Williams, and the editing was done by Gregory Perler. And the voice cast for this movie is Steve Carrell, Kristen Wiig, Benjamin Bratt, Miranda Cosgrove, Russell Brand, Steve Coogan, Ken Jeong, Elsie Fisher, Dana Gaier, and Kristen Shaw. Now, the original Despicable Me was a rather eccentric but quite engaging family film. In the original, we see Gru, played by Steve Carell, as an evildoer whose master plan was to rob the moon. The antagonist in the movie was even more deranged and diabolical. In most animated cartoons, the heroes seem to come across as being cute and timid characters who come out on top in spite of the dangerous obstacles that they must prevail in order to emerge victorious. Gru, on the other hand, is not like all the other protagonists in the film. In most animated films, he's not a cute and fuzzy guy. In fact, he's kind of macabre in physicality. He's kind of defined as the anti-hero, not necessarily a full-blown protagonist, but an anti-hero, meaning that he still has a despicable demeanor, but it's just that now he is trying to go legit without being entirely likable, and that you don't necessarily cater for his motives or what his intentions are. That's kind of like how you could describe the character of Gru. He has more of an anti-hero characteristics rather than the typical soft, fuzzy hero. And I guess that's kind of like the reason why this movie fared so well at the box office. I mean, I guess if you have a character that's too fuzzy and cute and adorable, it's gonna probably more attract the younger age demographics rather than for the older. And I think Pierre Coffin and Kristen Renaud's motive was to try to make sure this movie is not dumbed down as a way to insult the adult's intelligence by trying to make our protagonist adorable, and to try to prove that even the least adorable looking people can actually do the world of good, even if their ways of life is not necessarily intended to be. I guess this kind of characteristics in finding a darker toned character as the hero was the reason why this film fared so much at the box office. And of course, the minions are going to be there. Oh yeah, there's more of them in this movie. And it probably was one of those not needed sequels. Since the end of the first one, Gru has become nice, with the ability to use his evil savvy as an advantage to serve his heroism, contributes the movie to work this way its time around. And I think, it does follow up from the first Despicable Me movie quite elegantly. It's a great continuation from the first. It's good to see, what happened after Despicable Me once Gru started to become a nice guy. Well, not necessarily a nicey nice guy, but a not so despicable character in spite of the title. So now the movie starts with Gru, who's now living peacefully with his 3 adorable daughters. Margot, played by Miranda Cosgrove, who's now kind of grown up and has also taken an interest in boys. Edith, played by Dane Gaier. She still kind of has that tomboyish personification, but I even think her maturity level also seems to increase in this movie too as it goes along. And Agnes, played by Elsie Fisher, she is still just as cute and adorable here as she was in the first movie. That hasn't changed much, and for good reasons too. Sometimes you just don't want the cute characters to become uncute in later movies. And I think just by keeping Agnes as a cute character gives kudos to Coffin and Renaud. Believing that he is lonesome with no companion in his life, he seems kind of ardent at times when the girls start looking for companions. One day, Gru gets captured by an undercover agent of an elite force known as the Anti-Villain League, led by Agent Lucy Wilde, voiced by Kristen Wiig. The AVL depends on Gru to ascertain a possible fiendish criminal genius who's coming off as an owner in a shopping mall store. So Gru goes on his journey to this Paradise Mall to look for this somewhat rather off-camera invincible character who goes by the name of El Macho, played by Benjamin Bratt, who appears to be almost unbeatable. He has invented some kind of a concoction that provides him super strength, and has arbitrarily tried it on some of Gru's minions. I love it when they become evil minions, you know, with kind of a purplish complexion towards them. Just really, really off-the-wall stuff. It's a simple plot, but then again, Despicable Me 1 was a rather simple story. And I think, you know, that actually is effective. You know, sometimes, you know, you gotta live a little. You know, sometimes simplicity could be the best policy. I mean, in the complex world that we live in, why do we have to make our movie-going experiences to be complex? It's good to kick back and rest your brains for a while. But that doesn't mean that this movie will bog you down or insult your intelligence. But it's still fun, it's zany, it's manic, it's uplifting, and it'll definitely keep you in stitches for the hour 38 duration that this movie runs. Now, even though Gru is kind of more of a protagonist in this movie, it's still wonderful that his edginess wasn't completely watered down. He still gets easily cantankerous towards people who irritate him, which includes his 3 daughters. But he still could have a knack for being evil, and the film takes great pride in proving that point. And one of the better scenes is when Gru tries to outsmart El Macho and pinpoint his moves beforehand. This kind of methodology is what keeps this film true to the original, even if Gru is not as despicable as he once was. What could I tell you about the storytelling? The storytelling elements in this film, I would have to say, is the main weakness here. And I think it's just like the first one. The narrative is way too loose, contrary to the other animated films of this generation, like Madagascar and Frozen. Even though I kind of pride a bit on simple narratives, I just still like simple but still tightly woven. Sometimes I guess the details might be a little bit too loose, and that's kind of where the weakness stands in this movie. You can agree with me, disagree with me all you want, no problem. But, you know, I'm kind of That's just how I feel. Okay? I think Despicable Me 2 definitely has the potential to pitch more ideas, with Gru striving to become more adept at pushing his heroic integrity even further. It's okay that he could still be macabre in nature, but sometimes I guess in a battle between evil or against lesser than evil, I guess what we need is to see him being more heroic in his integrity. And what I mean by that is, I don't mean for him to start wearing long underwear and wearing a cape and throwing candles at somebody. I don't mean anything like that in particular. What I do mean is, use his evil powers to overcome even more evil. Sometimes in a battle between evil versus evil, the lesser evil can still emerge heroic without necessarily having to do by-the-book tactics. And that's kind of what I mean by pushing his heroic integrity further. There are moments midway in the film that drags a bit at times. And even though the minions are cute, their functions tend to sometimes lack in significance. Every so often these little guys need some moments to themselves, which is why I'm so thankful that they had a summer spin-off movie based entirely on the Minions this year. If you didn't get a chance to see it, go check it out. It's also a good, solid, family fun movie. I would recommend you, if you are a Minionite, I would recommend you to go see this movie. And this is not just product placement, this is the truth. Speaking of the Minions, I would be lying to your faces if I told you the Minions were not the best things in this movie. In fact, every time they're on, they put a big smile on my face. They are really quite magnetic. Sure, sometimes they may distract the gist of the movie, but they're just too adorable and funny to neglect. Some of the more funnier scenes was when they morph into purple demon-like critters. I guess the filmmakers knew how immensely popular the Minions were, so they added more just to please the viewers, and I give a big applause to that. And surely they didn't disappoint. Their manic and crazy antics will surely have you laughing out loud till your head explodes, though I wouldn't want that to happen. And the Minions weren't the only funny ones there. Gru was exceptionally funny as the leading hero, and El Macho makes one hell of a very mysterious and exciting villain. The build-up that leads to the villain appearing in the movie is just remarkable. He kind of reminds me of Carlos from the movie Hop, the evil chicken that has morphed into a sumo wrestler. The characters were very delightful in its creation, and the visuals are just simply stunning. So Despicable Me, I can't say isn't the best animated movie out there, but it still offers lots of humor and warmth for a family film that the whole family can enjoy. You really got to enjoy this movie. And if I was to give this movie a scale out of 10, I would definitely give it an 8. You gotta check it out. So I guess this ends my writer reviews, so thank you all for listening in. If you want to subscribe to my channel, feel free to do so. If you wish to write back to me, it's always a pleasure. Remember, be kind, be courteous, don't be rude, and I will be back again with another review. So until next time, this is Eric Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.